Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is our year to shine. And Annabelle's all snuggled up with me, my kitty co-host here on the channel. And I'm going to be bringing you tonight the introduction to our new book, Madly in Love with Me by Christine Arylo. And I think it's a great topic. I think if you're like me, you may struggle with saying I love you, like our self-care challenge, like we talked about in the last video. And I think it's also well timed for our month of love and the idea that February is about the heart and love. So in the introduction to the book, Christine says to us, imagine a world of love. And doesn't that tie in well with the Enough book that we just finished too? Welcome to a world of love. Imagine, if you will, a world in which every girl born on this planet is born with love and stays in love with herself. A world in which every girl throughout the entire span of her life never feels disconnected from the thread of love that makes her feel safe, loved, cared for, and special. Instead of learning to measure and therefore judge herself by the external images and standards that bombard her daily with the subconscious message of "you're not enough." Each girl grows up believing that regardless of her accomplishments, body shape, life status, or material possessions, she is more than enough just because she is herself. The thought that her unique soul could be measured against and compared to that of another person or an outside ideal would never occur to her. To commit such an act on oneself would be, in her mind, insane. Yeah, I mean, we talked about this in the Enough book. We're not given the messages. I mean, unless, like I said in another video, like if you were raised by super hippie, love, warm people that, you know, attended to your every need and let you be who you are and just told you you were beautiful and enough and loving every day, I don't think that that's the typical experience. So we do have to sort of imagine this alternate world, not unlike the Enough story that we were talking about. And imagine generations of these girls that turn into women, and they would never suffer from eating disorders. They would just refuse to tolerate any abusive or toxic relationship in their lives. Women would take care of themselves first without guilt or obligation, rendering exhaustion and the sense of being overwhelmed obsolete. Ancient diseases only read about in textbooks. To them, the notion that they should give and give and give until they have nothing left for themselves would be as absurd as placing their hands directly into the flame on a hot stove. The girls in the world would know without a doubt that in order to give, they must also receive, and self-care would be as natural as breathing and as everyday as eating. Now imagine a girl or woman in your life whom you love dearly. What if she could go her entire lifetime without comparing, judging, or emotionally beating herself up? What if her first reaction was always to be kind and compassionate to herself, to tell herself that she was doing the best she could? Imagine how much more love and happiness she would feel, and as a result, how much more empowered she would be to live her best life possible. One that would give her everything her heart and soul really desired, not that she thought she should have. It would be a life that would let her do and be whatever she chose. What a world that would be. And she goes on to talk about how, especially over time, women, we've been very fortunate that we live in a time, at least in American culture, where we've gotten to the point where we have choices now. We don't have to be tied to a man to be financially provided for. We can have a career. We have the choice of what we're going to do. So we're very fortunate in that way. But on the flip side of that, we are, it's almost like the pressure of that has become much worse on us. And I'm not saying that women in the past didn't have that same pressure, but especially nowadays with seeing things on social media and there's so much communication and so many things that you see in media, on TV and newspapers and magazines and things, that become this sort of a standard of, like, if we don't meet that, then we're not good enough. Again, it's with the good enough sort of thing. Yeah. So, I mean, thankfully the wave of feminism rejected the suppressive model of what and how a woman was supposed to be. So we are into a new era here. And we're empowered to have self-esteem. So it's not like everybody struggles with self-esteem. You know, we talked about last year what's the difference between self-esteem and self-love. And you can have self-esteem for sure without having self-love. That's an interesting thought. You can go back and find that video. So what are we saying when we say that we're madly in love with ourselves? Madly in love with me is a huge promise to yourself to always remember what the little girl inside you needs. Laughter, joy, play, hugs, unconditional acceptance, and compassion, and to give it to her. At the same time, it's a promise to go for her big girl dreams and desires even when they don't make sense to anyone else. When you say yes to madly in love with me, you say yes to freely and fully expressing yourself. You also say yes to treating yourself with love and respect and requiring that you get the same respect and unconditional love from every relationship in your life without exception. You say yes to being loving and living you. Yeah. And this is just a note from the author. When you open this book and enter these pages, together we will imagine and create new magical, fanciful realities for you, guaranteed to fill your life with extraordinary amounts of happiness, love, and freedom. This is your life. You get to decide what it's filled with. It all starts with you. Consider to fill yourself up with love, and you'll create more love in your life. Choose to fill yourself up with care, and you'll be better taken care of. Choose to fill yourself up with compassion, and you'll receive more understanding and kindness from others. See, it is magic. You choose self-love, and the more of what you want and need comes to you. Let the magic of love directed toward you begin. So that's just a little introduction to what we're going to be talking about with this book. I mentioned to you that there are things in it called daring acts of love, so she might encourage us to do something which might seem really sort of uncomfortable when you think about it. She also has things called me moments, and she has quotes throughout the book too, so it is worth getting the book itself. I mean, I will be reading excerpts from it as I do on my videos, but there's artwork and things in here too, which would be helpful to be able to see for some of the discussions. It's not very expensive either. I think maybe 15 bucks or so. So I will be back with another video as we continue our month of love and our talk about being our own best friend and being madly in love with yourself. I hope that your extreme self-care challenge is off to a good start, because it's a lot about what this book is about. So we're all on this journey together. Have a good night. Bye-bye.